Before becoming one of the most talked about female rappers on the planet thanks to hit songs like Wet and Area Codes, well, up-and-coming female EMCEE Kali was born Kaliya Ashley Ross on July 29, 2000 in Roswell, Georgia. For the most part, Kali was raised by her Panamanian mother on the north side of Atlanta, along with the help of her maternal grandmother. In fact, both of these women, they would play a huge part in shaping the person Kali would become. Now, her mother taught her the importance of hard work, while her grandma, well, she pushed her to believe in herself at all times. But it was Kali's stepfather who somewhat inadvertently, well, he turned her into a performer. Now, a little over a decade ago, when Kali was still in the 5th grade, well, she was chronicling her feelings daily in a journal as she went through the trials and tribulations of impending adolescence. Back then, her stepfather, he was dabbling as a producer in the music industry, and he'd set up a recording studio in the home spare bedroom so he could make some beats. Now, with only 3 bedrooms in the house, well, that meant that Kali, she had to share a room with her brother, something she desperately wanted to stop doing the older she got. So she and her stepdad, well, they struck a deal. If she wrote 13 songs all on her own, well, she could have her own bedroom. Less than a month later, well, Kali, she had finished writing every single track and then recorded the songs with her stepdad's help. Now, that's how she officially became a 12-year-old rapper and the sole owner of her very own bedroom. Now, influenced from the beginning by artists like Nicki Minaj and Aaliyah, well, Kali knew how she wanted to present herself to the world as a girl with a bag full of swag, which is what gave her the confidence to then package 6 of those 13 songs into a mixtape and distribute them to barbershops all around her hometown while dropping a few DIY music videos as well. She even handed copies of her project out to her soccer team. But once she firmly entered her teenage years, well, she kind of lost track of music for a minute as she focused more on athletics as well as earning some disposable income while working at Chipotle. Yeah, listen, it worked for Machine Gun Kelly. No shame in that, right? Now, after a month in the fast food industry, well, Kali picked up work at a top golf entertainment venue before considering joining the Air Force. Now, instead of doing that, however, well, Kali, she ended up working at a senior living facility beside her mom, and during the short amount of time she could steal with her breaks, well, she'd write a few new rhymes and share them with her mother. Now, that's when Kali's mom, she came up with an idea that would change her daughter's life forever. In 2018, Kali's mom, she found out that Netflix, it was holding auditions in Atlanta for their upcoming music competition series, Rhythm and Flow, and convinced her daughter to throw her hat into the ring. Now, unfortunately, well, Kali, she only made it to the 2nd round of auditions before her opportunity was cut short because the judges of Killer Mike, Quavo, and Big Boy, well, they were all too tired to continue listening to the final 6 auditions. Now, she was supposed to receive a call back afterwards, but, well, she never did. Now, at that point, well, Kali, she could have given up on her dream completely. In fact, she considered it. But then another contestant from the series, Houston-based rapper Ken the Man, well, he encouraged her not to give up and to keep pushing forward. Now, this support, it led to Kali creating the first viral track of her career, a single titled Miami. But it still wasn't smooth sailing for Kali quite yet. Now, clearance issues, they plagued not only Mammy, but her first mixtapes as well, after she refused the advances of a producer who had helped her early on in her career. She told the podcast, "Go Off Sis," where she stated, "Men cannot handle rejection, especially in the industry. When you're a pretty woman, he got all my music taken down and filed a cease and desist. It was just weird." Yeah, people with them copyright strikes and those takedown notices, man. People are gangsta out there. Now, this understandably resulted in Kali once again growing frustrated with the process of making music. Now, that's when her manager stepped in, or should I say momager. Turns out Kali's manager is actually the mother of her best friend. So these two, they have a deep connection that goes beyond music and business. Now, Kali, she once told Hip Hop DX, "She's my best friend's mom and is the person who was like, you know what? We gotta do this thing. I'm gonna make sure your business is handled. I'll make sure nobody play with you and we're gonna take over." Now, in this case, well, Kali's manager had to protect her from herself by promising she'd keep an eye on any subsequent sampling issues that might arise. Kali threw herself into the recording process once again, and that very day, well, she created the song that would become her breakthrough. We're talking a track titled "Do a Bitch." Knowing she had something special on her hands, well, Kali, she held onto that track for 7 months, waiting for the right time to release it, before finally posting a snippet on TikTok for the first time in November of 2020. That same year, Kali, she signed her first big deal with Atlantic Records, and over the course of the next 12 months, Do a Bitch, it would earn over 12 million streams on Spotify between the original version as well as its 3 remixes, one of which features Rico Nasty. Now, Kali, she almost didn't write the song that would change her life because the subject matter involving her ex was still quite fresh when she sat down to pen it. Now, thankfully, her best friend recognized the potential in the track and convinced her to release it. Now, before she knew what was happening, the song was blowing up over on TikTok as well, where big-time content creators like Charlie D'Amelio, Gabrielle Union, and Nessa Barrett, they were all getting in on the fun by dreaming up their own dance moves to the beat. With her name circulating more than ever, a couple months later, Kali dropped her debut EP, This Why They Mad Now. A title no one can knock. That's great. Now, of course, achieving a breakthrough isn't always as difficult as maintaining a presence. Now, thankfully, Kali, she was able to cement her position as one of hip-hop's most promising when she dropped in November of 2021. That's MMM space MMM. Kind of like my initials, but right? Produced by superstar ATL Jacob, the new song, it proved to be just as popular across digital streaming services and TikTok as her former hit, and it wound up producing remixes from the likes of Lotto and Moneybagg Yo. After collaborating together on that track, Lotto brought Kali on tour, which propelled the young star's fame to new heights and set the stage for the next step in her career. In 2022, Kali dropped her sophomore EP titled Toxic Chocolate, comprised of 8 songs, including and this project had featured collaborations alongside Bia, Young Blue, and Money Long. Now, while propelling Kali towards the biggest honor of her career so far, being named to the XXL freshman class of 2022. Joined by the likes of Nardo Wick and Do Chai, this recognition proved that Kali, she had finally accomplished what she has been chasing for so long, a place of merit in the hip-hop food chain. Hot on the heels of that accolade, Kali, she kept the good vibes going with the release of Wet. Now, that's a sexy summer anthem with an addictive flow and a catchy beat. I think that's the one I heard on the radio that I'm like, we better make a video on this girl. She's blowing up. But even that spicy single, it wasn't quite as successful as what came next when Kali scored her first appearance on the Billboard Hot 100 thanks to Area Codes. Oh, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Now, this is an interpretation of Ludacris's 2001 hit of the same name. Area Codes launched at the number 54 spot, and it was the highest new entry on the chart that week. What's more, the track, it also inspired more viral activity on TikTok when Kali's ex-streamer, Duke Dennis, he reacted to the video. Now, Duke's complicated and emotional response to that song has inspired a series of viral memes on TikTok, and it just goes to show you that no matter what Kali's working on at any given time, odds are pretty good once she drops a new song, it's gonna go viral in some way, shape, or form. Now, will this formula hold true for her next hit? I guess we'll have to just wait and see. After all, this has been before they're famous. And before I leave you guys, I do have a question for you. Would you consider letting a best friend's parent control your business affairs? I mean, momagers worked out for the Kardashians. In hip hop, I feel like, having a parent that's in the business is quite frequent. A lot of people have tried, failed, but they know the biz, so then they become managers. But then you're getting your family mixed in with your finances. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know personally it didn't work for me, but hey, who can you trust more than family? All right, we're gonna leave you guys with a previous upload on this channel. Today we're gonna go with Boy With Ukulele. I filmed this previous to my trip to LA, so if you missed it, there you go, enjoy it, and I'll see you guys in another video.
Only you know what goes on in my...
Before he'd become one of TikTok's most accomplished and most famous performers, earning 7.2 million followers and more than 200 million streams on the platform, the musical artist Boy With You, he was born on August 25th, 2002, and being of Asian heritage, it's quite possible that his place of birth is elsewhere other than the United States. But nonetheless, he was primarily raised in the state of Massachusetts.
Whenever I'm in the high, I feel like life is immaculate. Everything's going my way.
Boy With You grows to popularity on TikTok anonymously, and even though he's now got millions of fans clamoring for each new release, he's decided to keep things a mystery when it comes to his personal life. Now, all we know for sure is that this 20-year-old has now become one of the most popular faceless artists of all time, strumming the hell out of his ukulele while using an opaque face shield adorned with LED lights to conceal his identity. So let's start with the most obvious question of all. Why conceal himself in such an elaborate way to begin with? Well, according to what he once told Billboard, it all has to do with growing up in a judgmental environment. He explained to the popular media outlet where he stated, "I was bullied for my voice. I was afraid of how people would view me if they knew it was me singing. Having the mask, it allows me to be myself without fear of judgment from others, and I want people to really pay attention to the music rather than what I look like." Growing up, Uke's parents, they forced him to learn an entire band's worth of different instruments. Starting from the age of 4, he learned how to perform on the piano, the violin, as well as the guitar. Now, he even learned a bit of musical theory, but then he simply fell out of love with traditional classical music. A few years later, during high school, well, Uke's family, they started moving around a whole lot, and that made it difficult for him to make friends. So to keep himself entertained, well, he returned to music, but this time in a different form.
Back in high school, I had a lot of pent up emotions, angst, puberty, and that's when I started making songs around sophomore year.
Rather than learn how to perform some of the most famous and oldest pieces of music ever composed on a host of different instruments, well, Uke began writing his own songs as an outlet to express his emotions. Now, thankfully, there was a class he used to take in high school which taught him band music production using GarageBand on an iPad, and he told Billboard, "I think that was literally the biggest thing I got out of high school. The most important thing I've learned. It was more important than trigonometry." Inspired by some of his favorite artists like 21 Pilots, Milky Chant, and Dominic Fike, well, Uke picked up a pen for the first time during his sophomore year, and he'd continue refining his skill set all the way to freshman year in college. That's when his little brother convinced him to get a new app to try. Of course, it was TikTok. When Boy With Uke's little brother originally pestered his older sibling to download TikTok and give it a try, well, Uke was pretty doubtful. Well, you know how little siblings can be. They'll keep at it until you give in, no matter what. So eventually, Uke, he decided to give this new social media platform a shot, and much to his surprise, well, some of his very first TikToks, they perform remarkably well. That was one piece of the Boy With Uke's puzzle. The other, of course, the ukulele. Now, around 2 years ago, Uke was trying to get the girl that would later become his girlfriend, and at the time, she was showing him a lot of videos of her friends playing the ukulele at a talent show, and she was so blown away by her friend's ability that Uke realized then and there that if he wanted to impress this girl himself, well, he'd have to learn the ukulele as well. So that's exactly what he did. From there, Boy With Uke, he would cross over the sounds of bedroom and indie pop, anchored by those signature ukulele melodies, into a series of TikToks that hit the sweet spot between confessional alt-pop jams, candid tracks about bad friends, as well as how to survive long-distance relationships. Through each new creation, Uke keeps his face hidden behind an opaque face shield with 2 unblinking LED eyes set into black plastic, an accessory that he bought, surprisingly enough, well, on Amazon.
Why are you still wearing a costume?
This is not a costume. This is it's like a physical manifestation of my personality. I'm shy. I don't want to show my face.
Now, if it's not obvious enough by his costume, well, Boy With Uke, he likes to do things his own way. And that's why he also produces all of his own music as well. Now, he's made some pretty good songs with collaborators before, but he definitely prefers to work on his own. And in January of 2021, well, he'd release his debut album, Melatonin Dreams, which included his viral hit, Blurry Nights. 6 months later, he turned things up a notch by releasing Fever Dreams, an 11-track project that became one of the top 10 album debuts during its first weekend on Spotify UK, thanks to the hit song 2 Moons. Uke's profile will continue to rise when he dropped his most popular single yet, Toxic, which amassed over 100 million streams in the first few months of its release, and it peaked at the number 65 spot on Billboard's Global 200 chart. That song came about like a number of Uke's others through a suggestion raised in the comments. Now, at the time, well, Uke, he was going through his own personal issues with friends, and well, there were a lot of toxic things about relationships ruminating around in his head. Now, that song, well, it was the end result of all those elements coming together to produce something spectacular. After the song was released and went crazy viral, well, Uke, he had arrived once and for all. Now, following the aforementioned skewering of his toxic friends, well, Boy With Uke caught the attention of Republic Records, and he wound up signing onto the very same roster that includes mega stars. We're talking Taylor Swift, Drake, Ariana Grande, and that was at the end of 2021. From there, Uke, he announced his very first studio album, Serotonin Dreams, the release of which would bring to a close what some refer to as the Dream Saga. Now, if you circle back to Uke's very first release, Melatonin Dreams, well, you'll discover an album that deals heavily with suicidal thoughts and depression. From there, Fever Dreams explored in further detail these concepts of low self-esteem and melancholy. With Serotonin Dreams, Uke, he ended the cycle by waking up and focusing on more positive experiences than in his previous work. Now, when asked to comment on the running themes spread throughout all of his music. Well, he would tell Billboard, "I think each project has its own theme, but Serotonin Dreams will have a very distinct theme. I think that ties everything together. It's actually pretty cool because if you take a step back, this next project will connect all my previous projects together in this one story." Now, for those of you wondering, well, the story Boy With Uke is trying to tell is of his own awakening to life, the music industry, and everything. And so far, so good, because following its release, well, Serotonin Dreams would debut at number 72 on the Billboard 200. Having accomplished that monumental success, well, Uke hit the road for the first time in his life, opening up for indie pop trio AGR on their OK Orchestra tour, popping up all over the United States and even appearing a few times over in Europe. More recently, Uke has released a string of singles such as Rockstar, Nosedive, and his upcoming release Out of Reach, which arrives at the beginning of April. But as for whether Boy With Uke might one day step out from behind his mask and reveal his identity to all of us, well, I guess that's a story for another day, because this has been Before They're Famous. Now, before I leave you guys, I do have a question for you. If you were suddenly the hottest thing going around on TikTok, would you prefer to keep your actual identity a secret or to capitalize on the publicity? I don't know. Sometimes I wish I kept my face in a bit of a secret, but that's me. I've put myself out there. It's done. And, I look at like Marshmello. People know who he is, but it's a nice little bit of an anonymity. Anonymity? You know what I mean? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below.